Hi, everybody. Brad Truax here from Eastman's Woodlands and Wildlife Committee. And today we're going to talk about Canada geese. You've, of course, all seen that tremendous sound coming from those flock of Canada geese that are flying in that classic V pattern. Canada geese are harbingers of the seasons. Their migrations tell us all about the approaching seasons. They fly south in the fall and return in the spring. And that unmistakable honking and that flying V pattern really tell us that change is coming. So again, Canada geese are native to North America, but now they're found in several other continents as well. There are probably about 5 million Canada geese here in North America, and they're famous for their long migrations. They can migrate 2,000 miles or more, sometimes as much as 3,000 miles. And they can fly up to about 1,000 miles at a time. They can fly over 40 miles per hour, and they usually fly at heights between 2,000 and 9,000 feet, but some have been seen as high as 29,000 feet. And unfortunately, they're often involved in dangerous collisions with airplanes. Everybody probably remembers the famous miracle on Hudson, where the plane flown by Sully Sullivan actually collided with a flock of Canada geese and knocked out both the engines, and the plane had to land in the Hudson River. The Canada geese migrate south in the fall, usually beginning in September and lasting maybe until early November. And then they return north in late February to April, peaking in March. Talk about great timing. I happen to be recording this video on March 29th. I'm in coastal southern Georgia. And about an hour ago, I was out on my bicycle, and a flock of Canada geese flew overhead, flying over a salt marsh and heading north. So you can bet that that flock of Canada geese is going to arrive in the north probably in the next couple of days. Maybe at Eastman, maybe one flock has already landed at Eastman. But it's that time of year, so get ready to see Canada geese again. And they congregate in flocks that have very complex social structures. So Canada geese are pretty big birds. They may weigh almost 15 pounds. They can be up to 43 inches tall, and their wingspan can be up to almost 6 feet. So it's pretty incredible. They have a black head and neck, and they have white cheeks and what people have talked about as a white chin strap. The rest of their body is primarily brown, maybe a little bit white on the belly. And the males, also known as ganders, are slightly larger than the females. But they're really good in both the air and on the water. So I like this photo because it shows that tremendous wingspan that can be almost 6 feet. And look at those webbed feet. Those webbed feet actually make them very good swimmers as well. So again, Canada geese are very noisy birds. They do honks, barks, cackles, hisses, and they're most vocal when they're in flight in those flocks. Talk about something very interesting. They can sleep with one eye open and half their brain active, while the other half of their brain is in slow wave sleep. Uh, that allows them to rest while they're actually still watching for predators. And this type of phenomenon is not unique to the Canada geese. Dolphins also do this, and there are many other bird species that do this. And it's called unihemispheric sleep. Very interesting phenomenon. So again, Canada geese like wide open fields with short grass near water, and they prefer short green grass. They don't like tall grass, so they love golf courses and parks because those usually have short green grass and ponds. So again, here's Canada geese in the classic V formation. They're flying very high here. This conserves energy, and it increases their ability to fly long distances during migration. It reduces drag, and it allows them to fly up to 70% farther than if they were flying alone. Each bird flies slightly higher than the bird in front, and that takes advantage of lesser wind resistance by flying in the drafts that are created by the wings of the bird ahead. And they actually take turns leading. Once the leader gets tired, another bird will take over. And they're usually very noisy while they're in flight. So you can hear them going there. So again, they do migrate in flocks, and each group has a set route with traditional stopovers. They fly the same route basically year after year. And they can fly anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 miles in a day. And while they used to always fly from their northern summer sites to southern United States or Mexico, more and more are finding suitable wintering sites not quite as far south. So some have even taken up permanent residence in some more northern climes. And in the spring, they reverse their paths and they repeat those migrations year after year. And areas that are designated as refuges are often sites that they'll stop at during their migration. If any of you have ever taken the New York State Thruway, just west of the most of the Finger Lakes is such a site. It's named Montezuma, and it's a wildlife refuge. And it's a great site to be able to see not only migrating Canada geese, but many other migratory birds. So it's really a prime bird viewing site. So again, here's the range map for the Canada geese. Once again, you can see in red here, that's the area where they breed, mostly in Canada and Alaska. But look over here, look where we are. You can see that their breeding zone also includes Maine, parts of New Hampshire, and parts of Vermont. So again, this is where they breed. Down here, the blue areas are where they might be year round. And down here, the very light blue is where they typically do their wintering. So again, what do Canada geese eat? Well, they're primarily herbivores. They eat mainly grasses and seeds and grains. Sometimes they might eat insects or even small fish. And they can eat aquatic plants, even those that are underwater. I'll show you a picture in a minute of them eating underwater. And they can also often eat berries, but they'll eat almost anything that people feed them in parks. So again, they can eat underwater aquatic plants, roots, tubers, and algae, maybe even a crustacean or a small fish. And you may just see them dipping their head and their neck into the water, or you may see them tipping forward with their tails in the air, like this photo shows. This is called dabbling. Okay, so very classic for the Canada goose. And occasionally they might even go completely submerged for a few seconds. So again, Canada geese are actually pretty smart. They can remember sites that have food and sites that have danger. They can remember those long migratory routes and the stopover sites, and they go back to them over and over again. But perhaps most of all, they remember human faces, and they often change their behavior accordingly. They can act very aggressively toward some people, but they can behave in a friendly manner toward people that they know feed them. Canada geese bond in pairs that last for years. They usually begin pairing off at about 2 to 3 years old. And interestingly, they tend to choose mates of a similar size. The average brood that they produce is 5 to 7 goslings. But unfortunately, only about 30 to 50% of those goslings are going to survive the first year. They might die from predation, disease, or environmental pressures. But if they do survive, Canada geese can live up to 20 years in the wild. And as soon as those goslings hatch, they're really capable of walking and swimming and finding their own food. They'll begin to fly by about 6 to 9 weeks. And the parents are often seen leading those goslings in a line, usually with one adult in the front and the other adult at the back, chasing away any nearby creatures. And the goslings typically will stay with their parents for about a year. They usually join their parents on their first long migration, and they don't leave their parents until the spring migration when they do return to their birthplace. So again, Canada geese nest from March to May. Typically, the nest is elevated in the open so that they can see predators, and it's typically near water. And the female will incubate the 6 to 8 eggs for almost a month, while the gander basically stands guard nearby. So again, here you see the female on the nest. Here's the gander standing guard. And you've often seen this. The average brood is 5 to 7 goslings, and you'll often see them walking in a line with typically one parent in the front, and there'd be another one back here someplace that's standing guard. And those parents are very protective of the goslings. So again, Canada geese are very territorial and they're fiercely protective of their mates, the eggs, and the goslings. And they become very aggressive during nesting and while rearing their young. And they'll hiss and honk and lower their heads, flap their wings, bump their head up and down, and they'll rush at predators or people or intruders. One of the most amazing scenes we've ever seen happened several years ago. We were looking out at a pond that had both Canada geese and ducks. And all of a sudden, we saw the geese go into a V formation in the water with the goslings behind them. And we really weren't quite sure why until we saw a very small fox at the edge of the pond. It was just incredible how the teamwork of the flock worked. And they basically were protecting all their goslings from this potential predator. So, in terms of predators, the eggs and the goslings can be preyed upon by raccoons, foxes, coyotes, bears, or even large crows, ravens, or gulls. You might also get a very large snapping turtle that might prey upon the eggs. Dogs can also prey upon both geese and goslings, but largely because of their size and their aggressive behavior, the adult geese have very few predators. Maybe a coyote or a wolf or a big owl or eagle might attack an adult goose. And there are also videos of mink attacking and actually killing adult geese. And Canada geese are also susceptible to certain diseases like avian bird flu. Canada geese like those open spaces so that they can see any potential predators, but they may be especially vulnerable during summer. And that's because during the summer, for a period of time, they lose all their flight feathers. So they're completely flightless for a period of about 3 to 5 weeks. So they have to rely on the water and swimming for safety during that period of time. So Canada geese are often considered pests because of their droppings, the bacteria in their droppings, the noise that they make, and their confrontational behavior. They're often near us because we provide very ample habitat for them with lots of safe, human-made bodies of water that are near food sources, such as those that are found at golf courses, public parks and beaches, sports fields, and even in well-planned communities. And in those areas, they actually have very few natural predators. And they can damage agricultural crops like alfalfa, soybeans, barley, corn, wheat, rye, and oats. At Eastman, they often leave lots of their sticky green poop on the beach at South Cove. And speaking of that goose poop, there it is. The biggest problem with Canada geese is that they leave this sticky green poop all over the place. Goose can poop out 1 to 2 pounds a day, a pretty incredible amount. And the goose poop, unfortunately, can carry E. coli and salmonella, spreading bacteria and a number of other pathogens in public areas. And on top of that, the goose poop contributes to nutrient overloading in the lakes and ponds. That means that excess amounts of nitrogen and phosphorus get into the lakes and the ponds, and that in turn accelerates the algal growth. So again, the goose poop is very bad for our lakes and our ponds. So how do you get rid of geese? Well, attempts to get rid of geese include stop, obviously stop feeding them, allow the grass to grow over 6 inches tall. That's very important. In fact, it's probably the most important way to get rid of them. but again, a warning, be a little careful. Don't let the grass get too tall because, hint, take a look at our tick video. Okay, some have installed physical barriers like fencing or dense shrubs along the shoreline. Others use attempts to tactics to scare the geese, like reflective tape, mylar pinwheels, uh, decoys that look like coyotes or owls, or very loud sounds. Oiling the eggs has been used to reduce reproduction. More on that later. And then there was a very ingenious program in Boston that was using motion activated sprinklers. We'll talk more about that in a minute as well. So, again, often considered a humane manner of getting rid of unwanted Canada geese is to prevent their eggs from hatching. And you do that by oiling the eggs. So it's a fairly effective method. Essentially, what happens, you use 100% food grade corn oil and you coat the eggs with that, and that blocks the pores that prevent oxygen from entering the shell, and that basically halts development of the embryo. So the method also is important because it keeps the geese on the nest and discourages them from immediately re-nesting. If you just went in and destroyed the eggs for whatever by whatever manner, they probably would re-nest and do more eggs. So this method usually requires having a permit to use, but the corn oil is applied either by spraying or brushing it to coat the entire shell surface of the egg. And the best time to do this usually is in mid-incubation, so probably somewhere between March and June, after all the eggs have been laid. And this method is said to be 95 to 100% effective. This was done here, I believe, last year here at Eastman, and seemed to be effective. But again, Canada geese are attracted to lawns, especially ones that are near water. And lawns that are very well mowed allow them to eat while they're watching for predators. And that's why they love golf courses and parks. So you want to get rid of them? Let the grass grow. Once again, that's probably the best method of getting rid of them is not to mow your lawns too short and let the grass actually grow. Okay, very interesting thing was done in Boston. The Canada geese were leaving their sticky green poop on the docks up and down the Charles River. And the local boathouses tried all sorts of things. They tried fencing out the geese, scaring them with kites and noisemakers, using motion sensors and water hoses. And they actually had very little success. But the Riverside Club did something different. They installed motion activated sprinklers. So if a goose hopped on the dock at night, the sensors triggered the sprinklers, and that would chase the birds away because of strong jets of water. But unfortunately, people didn't like getting sprayed when their motion was detected. So a very smart engineer did something important. He replaced those motion activated sprinklers with simple cheap lawn sprinklers and put cameras up on the second floor of the boathouse facing the docks. And then the camera would take photos every few seconds. And if detected motion, he had installed an artificial intelligence based app that could identify geese and distinguish them from humans or dogs or anything else. So what would happen would be that if anybody else came up, nothing would happen. But if a goose popped up on the dock, it would trigger the sprinkler, chasing the geese away. Very ingenious. And again, that was published in the Boston Globe almost 2 years ago. So do geese do anything useful? Well, they can be very effective guards or watchdogs. So, for instance, if you have a farm and we're raising poultry, they could be a great watchdog or guard for you. They're also very good weeders. They disperse seeds from one area to another. They produce down that's used in many items to produce warmth. So they're used in sleeping bags and winter coats. And some people even raise geese for their eggs or their meat. And yes, they're part of the food chain. Those adult geese, the goslings and the eggs, can provide food for animals like foxes, snakes, raccoons, and turtles. And some people simply enjoy bird watching. So there you have it. Love them or leave them. That's Canada geese. You're probably going to see them very soon at Eastman. Uh, so keep your eyes open.